It's interesting. Sometimes I read out a quote by Rudolf Steiner, the quote from Theosophy, where he talks about archetypes. And he describes archetypes as living spiritual beings who continuously pour new shapes out of themselves, continuously being in movement. And so the concepts, what we think, he refers to as the shadows of the archetypes. So in other words, a concept is like a construct that is picking up something, a vibration of that living being in the spiritual world. And the more your concept in your mind, the more that concept comes out of real Goethean observation and is connected with real images, the closer it gets to the archetype, the less it is connected with images, the more dry and theoretic it becomes. So think of the sculptures, for instance, that you're doing with Sue, where you're thinking about courage, or you're thinking about the thinker contemplation. When you take something like courage, that's an essence behind which there's an archetype. If you think of courage as a spiritual being, this spiritual being is continuously metamorphosing, changing form. It's living out everything that could possibly connect it with the archetype of courage.
我们可不可以说原型是本质，概念是盲人画像呢？
Exactly. The concept is only capturing a little bit, and if this little bit is the only thing you have, you end up with something that is a fixation, like a definition of courage you find in the dictionary. So a dry intellectual person, when they hear the word courage, they can only think of the definition in the dictionary. A creative person all of a sudden gets dozens of different images and pictures in their mind, all connected with that same essence. Every one of these qualities is a being of joy, the being of jealousy, the being of anger, the being of happiness. Every emotion, if you like, is a being in the astral spiritual world. And so what happens when you're feeling angry or when you're feeling joyful, from a spiritual perspective, every time you're feeling joyful, there's a little bit of the being of joy that you're inviting into your soul. Every time you're feeling angry, you're inviting a little bit of the being anger into your soul. But you choose which beings you invite into your soul. That's your ego. And so depending on your capacity of perception, the archetype can show itself to you on the level of dry intellectual thinking, on the level of creative thinking, on the level of inspirational thinking. Each time you're capturing more of the reality.